So what we're going to do is, first of all, I appreciate the panel volunteering to come up. So we're going to ask each of you to do a quick 1-minute introduction so we have an idea of what kind of business you have or you're creating. And then I'm going to ask a few questions to kind of get started since I'm familiar with these types. And then what I would like to do is open it up to the audience. If you have a question, stand up. And if the question is specific to a type of personality type you want to talk about, then address it to that person. If you can't remember their name, you can remember their type. Okay? So if I can ask Linda to start, so 1 minute, if you could stay on that time, just introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about your business so we understand what you do.
I'm Linda, and I guess I'm a dreamer. I thought I was something else. And I'm an artist, and I run a reproduction studio, so I take all my art and I put it onto marble, which I invented, the whole process, and I do canvas reproductions and everything, and I've sort of made my way of being an accountant and a marketer and everything else. But I guess I'm actually a dreamer. I'm kind of a one-woman show. I have one employee and one half, but I like to do it all myself.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, my name is David Boweray. I'm actually a student. I go to Colorado University. I'm interning for DaVinci Institute, so I'm really excited to be here. Apparently I'm an architect. I didn't know that before, so I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I'm a student. I get good grades. With my GPA, I don't know, but I'm working on my entrepreneurship. I got the drive, and so that's why I'm here today. I love interning.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Hi, I'm Leanne. I'm a builder, and I actually run 3 businesses from my home office. I mentioned the training and coaching that I do, and also I'm a real estate investor. I work finding deals for people who like to fix and flip. It's called wholesaling, and I have a gold and silver distribution business as well. So yeah, that's me.
And I'm Christine, and I already introduced myself, but so I thought I was a builder, and I'm actually a cultivator apparently, and I do media production, but like you were saying, you always do more than one thing. So media production's the main thing, but I also do voiceover work and media coaching, and I'm a writer and teacher, a professor at the CU School of Journalism until it closes. Anyway, that's it.
Okay, great. All right. So the first question for each of you, in the way we define the profile, what now resonates with you? If there's something that you heard tonight and you go, oh yeah, I kind of am that way, or so what is it that really resonated with the type that you scored predominantly in? So one thing.
I think the thing that resonated the most was I need help. And
and you don't get it, do you?
My business too, because I am the ultimate control freak. So I need to seek out people who are, really good at marketing and, a lot better than I am. But I always think I'm good at everything, but I'm not.
I think what resonated for me the most was the idea that when I have an idea, when I want to implement that idea, I feel like I'm never ready because I can't plan enough. So I think that's probably the most associated with what I apparently am.
Great, excellent.
As a builder, I plan time for planning, and I love just being in the conceptual phase, but then I also plan development time, and I'll spend a whole day working on a course or a workbook, and I love that. But then I like to get out and meet people too. So I was really in the middle on a lot of these questions. It was really hard for me to answer them because I love being in every pocket. Like spending a whole day working in my office, but then coming out at night to meet other entrepreneurs is the bomb.
Awesome.
As a cultivator, so you do both implement and plan. And I'm very much a planner, and I have been able to implement a lot of things. And I guess one of the things that resonated with me is that unlike you, who you hate details, but you figured out how to do, I don't figure it out. I have somebody do it. I find somebody to do the books. I make videos, but I don't do the shooting and the editing. I have people do that. I just really try to focus on my strengths and carry those through.
Great.
But I really should learn how to do my own books.
All right. why don't you each pick something about yourself that, in terms of your business, that defines how you create your business. So if you could take one thing, one characteristic of yourself, or one trait, and don't worry about the types now, just think of what makes you successful. One trait, one behavior that has made you successful. So why don't you each share that, and then I'm going to open up the questions to the audience.
I guess being fearless of putting yourself out there and thinking you're good enough.
Okay, thank you.
I believe my ideas is what makes me successful, what sets me apart, the type of innovation, that sort of thing. So.
Okay.
I love doing and I'm really good at what I do.
Okay.
I have a lot of energy. I could just, do stuff all day, all night, and then crash at the very end once it's all done. But I get it done.
Okay. So what I heard in that is each person defined the one thing in the type that they are. Did you hear that? So, I don't know. So each person said the thing: the doer, the builder, the planner. He said that he likes to plan and design things. What was the first? No. What was the one thing you said? Okay, so the dreamer, right, has lots of ideas to share, right? They're typically courageous about getting that out, and then the person who has the energy to do everything. So that's what I heard. Okay, what questions do you have for our panel about their types or what they're doing with their business, or about your type? And and while we're think of one question, what's the biggest challenge? While we're waiting for the audience to come up with questions, think about this. What's the biggest challenge you've had to overcome in your business? So think about that, because this will really hopefully help us identify some of the things. So what questions do we have from the audience while they're thinking about that question?
Hi, my name is Ruby. I'm curious with the person that's a cultivator, how leadership has shown up for you, either professionally or in your personal life.
I'm kind of a natural teacher. I really like to help people, so I guess I'm constantly putting myself in a position where, I can offer help to you and whatever, and then by that same token, I'm always exposing myself to maybe people who need what I do, and so I never turn down an opportunity to volunteer or do something for free or make a demo, and it always comes back 100-fold. And I'm always kind of thinking, I probably shouldn't do that. I'm so busy right now. I really shouldn't, go teach that class or do that. But it always comes back 100-fold. I always learn so much more. And I think maybe just, putting myself out there and giving of myself, and I've done lots of things where, in teaching, I may not even be the expert at it. I may have only done it once, but I learned so much doing it, and I want to share that. So I don't know if that answers the question or not, but I'm not afraid to kind of just put myself out there and share knowledge and gain knowledge and just be exposed to a whole bunch of different things.
And the teacher aspect is one of the things we've uncovered about this profile as well, is that he tends to be the person who is more of a teacher. Good.
I'm Jen, and my question is just a show of hands. How many of you have a plan that you implement or execute and get down that road a little bit and things start to not look so right and doesn't always end well?
Can you share a quick example or?
Oh, I'm always inventing something. And I'll take it through and I'll make it and manufacture it, and then just it doesn't end well.
I think we've all been down that road where, something doesn't work out as planned, and I think it's important to be kind of versatile, and, I always think plans are just more like guesses anyway, so you kind of have to plan for, variations, so.
I find myself going down the highway at 90 miles an hour, and then, something else is going on over here, and I have to get that started, and, I might turn that over to somebody else, but some of it is just that priority shift, my interest shift, or the market shifts. So some of it is just a nature of reaction, and some of it is just I get bored, like the dreamer.
I have a really concrete example. For about 2 years now, I've been wanting to do these video tours for realtors, and nobody has the money for the type of production that I want to do, and I can't give it up. You know, I'm still, you know, approaching realtors, I'm approaching home sellers. Now my latest thing is, well, now I'll approach builders, because builders must have the money, and but I'm finding out that they don't. But, you know, it's such a high production that I want to do, such a detailed thing, and it could be on HGTV easily, and that everybody tells me that, and so the market has changed so much, and my vision has not changed with the reality of the market.
Actually, I have two questions. First of all, I think all of you are happy with what you found out you are. Is that correct? Is there anybody that's concerned that they may not be?
I'm a little concerned.
Okay. Okay, second of all, you've all been talking about what you think your strengths are and okay, and you recognized that each of you has some weakness. Starting over with you, Linda, and perhaps going all the way across, which personality type would you pick to help you?
I definitely pick Christine as well.
I would choose the architect because I'm going so fast that I don't always stop to think about what track I should be on and what are the implications of this. Like when Brian said something about writing down your numbers or something, I'm like, is that something I should be doing?
Me too. I would definitely choose the architect to help me because it's the same thing. I get going on these ideas, and some of the details in the planning process might not have been paid close attention to.
Oh, I picked Christine actually, just because, you know, she's the best of both worlds, and you know, she's multi-dimensional. That's important, I believe.
So I asked you, what is the biggest challenge that you had in the way you create? The biggest obstacle, the thing that continues to get in your way, what is that one thing that you think gives you what's the biggest blind spot that you have?
Getting the big ideas out there after I've accomplished them and created them, then putting them out there.
Definitely making it happen, you know, getting up into that production phase instead of the planning phase. And, you know, I think, actually, I'd say my biggest problem is I'm pretty spread out. I got a lot of things in the fire, so to speak, so I want to get more focused.
Two things: pausing to assess what's going on, and also who I need to have on my power team, and giving up some of the control.
I think I could look a little further into the future and like what Tom is so good at, what's the next thing that's coming? Not what's the last thing you thought of, but where can I take my product, and where's the future of this industry going, and how can I fit into that? Instead of being so in love with what my idea or what I'm doing right now is.
There's a big variable in this whole concept of how you define success. And so can each of you just talk just a little bit about how you define the concept of success? What feels like success to you?
I guess it feels successful. I feel successful. I run my own show. I'm happy. I pick my own time. I feel very successful. If I don't find what I need in the market, I'll invent it. And I feel good about that. And I wouldn't change much unless I had these guys all with me.
Money. So you didn't start with, okay.
No.
Just
I think the freedom to innovate, the freedom to create, just, you know, freedom in general. I don't necessarily like to be, I don't know, enslaved, for lack of words.
Being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it, where and with whom.
I think that, accomplishing what I set out to do, I'm pretty goal-oriented, so if my idea is I want to produce this, then I want that to be accepted in the market and actually accomplish my goal of being able to do that. I get frustrated if I come up with an idea that isn't going anywhere. You know, so then of course you come up with more and more ideas and try to like throw the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And I do think public recognition drives me quite a bit. You know, winning awards, I'm very competitive. I like to, you know, try to be the best at what I do, and also profit too.
I'm curious about how anybody else felt sort of dissatisfied with the results that they got. I tested out, or came out as a dreamer, and I think that that carries with it a little bit of baggage, that I think of myself as a businessman and I test out as a dreamer. Maybe that's just a semantic thing. So
Steve Jobs got the same problem?
Yeah, I disagree with Steve Jobs as a dreamer, to tell you the truth. I'm curious if anyone else has that reaction, if you tested to something else, if there was a semantic disconnect for you. But that's where I saw myself actually as the other three, and maybe it was just because of the semantics, and so maybe there's something skewed in the test.
Or you guys, once you start here, since we got to the mics, are you dissatisfied with the way you tested out?
I'm surprised, but not dissatisfied. I thought I was more of a cultivator or a builder, but turns out I'm a dreamer.
I'm actually, I don't know, I've always been kind of dualistic in a lot of things. I fit a lot of different factors, and I think that was the primary factor in my test was I tested 50% in 2 of the 4 categories, so, and I don't know, I got an I in the first one, which was kind of scary at first. But.
To the contrary, I actually felt proud to be a builder. I like to be known as somebody who makes things happen, but I completely understand it's not a Webster's definition that Brian's using, and I can see the dismay in that, but let it go.
I was kind of excited because I thought I was a builder, because I didn't think my planning was as strong as maybe it turns out to be. So I was kind of excited that I actually am planning and implementing at the same time.
In working with entrepreneurs over the years, I found that things that distinguish them from non-entrepreneurs are more values-oriented than personality style-oriented. And what hits me about this, that this is very much a personality style-oriented profile without a lot of emphasis on the individual's values. And it is in that values domain where I find most entrepreneurs distinguish themselves from others.
Hi, I'm Richard, and I'm confused. I thought I was a builder because I do a lot of actual physical creation, and I came out a dreamer. And when the question was asked, who would you ask for help? Well, if I'm a dreamer, I'd probably ask for help from a builder, but I thought I was a builder who needed to ask help from a dreamer, so I'll have to work on that one.
It's a matter of, if you are a dreamer and a visionary, that's fantastic. That's what wakes you up at 3 a.m. But then get up and go, okay, how can I take this dream and make it into something? That takes all the other things. If you're that architect and you're a detail, the devil's in the details, that's true, but the marketplace isn't. The builder is fantastic. They can build, just give me what you want and I'm going to do it. Get the hell out of my way. Give me the money and I'll do it. I've been there too. Well, fine. I'm so busy. And you go out and you do that and you go, but what about? I don't want about, I just do. Well, okay, so it's a combination of all the above, and that's why this evening is such an eye-opener for everyone to realize we all have one strength, but it could be at 1 week, at one time, and we find those others. So that's been my experience.
Questions I've got, Brian, is there's a book out there called Strength Finders that's doing something similar to this. It's not exactly the same. What's the difference with what you're trying to work towards versus what Strength Finders is attempting to do?
So the question is about the comparison of an assessment tool that was created by Gallup, and it's called Strength Finders. And what Strength Finders does is it measures your talent themes. There are 34 talent themes, and if you get the book, you can score your top 5. I'm mapping the talent themes to our assessment of the. I've just done assessments on just a few people. So far, the talent themes are related pretty closely to the type that we assess. So if you're a builder and you're the Strength Finders activator would be the energy of doing. We would see activator in the builder. We also would see people who are achievers and things like that. With the dreamer, we see more things like strategic, futuristic, those kinds of themes. So overriding the Gallup study is we're mapping those for the people that we can get those assessments, and so far they're mapping pretty closely together. But what that doesn't tell you, Gallup and this, the people, the consultants that use Strength Finders, which are mostly the Gallup organization or the people who are trained, mostly work with big corporations because that's where the money is. And here's my theory, and I've been told this actually, you don't want to build an assessment for entrepreneurs. They don't have any money to pay you. So maybe that's why nobody has taken the time to do it. But since I am an entrepreneur and I had such struggles with being the dreamer, and when I started to get into this, and I understood this type and the challenges, my blind spots and how they consistently came up to sabotage my businesses, I figured I had to get this out to the entrepreneurial community. And so I'll ask this question of you, of any other assessment tools that you have taken, have you found that it's helped you as an entrepreneur? And if you haven't had an assessment done, then?
I'm actually a trained facilitator for Myers-Briggs, DISC, and Insights, which is a color and a wheel version versus letters and blocks with Myers-Briggs. And that helps me a lot, actually, in communication, in marketing. Certainly when I'm developing my course materials, I have to be sure that I address all learner types. When I'm creating a message, I have to allow for people who like to process things versus people who make that snap decision. It's helped me tremendously to have some knowledge about different styles, communication preferences, and then use that in my business.
My sophomore year in college, I took a career assessment and kind of course, like you were saying, kind of narrowed down what your strengths are. I tested as a creative, and because of that, I chose advertising and as a major and a minor in philosophy. So,
from a percentage of what are you finding? What percent are dreamers versus cultivators?
The question is what percentage? The statistical, we don't have enough data yet. When I get these sheets back from you guys today, hopefully we'll get some more ideas. But as I said, we have no architects out of the dozens of people I've talked to. No one has come through as testing with the tools that we had, which is we use Myers-Briggs and Keirsey sorter. There are probably less cultivators, more dreamers, and more builders. So just overall right now. And the one interesting anomaly is that so far, again, every single person who is an entrepreneur scored as an N, not an S. And the one person who was scored as an S wants to be an employee, not an entrepreneur. And so I don't know what that means yet, but that's what we're finding. In terms of the E, the extrovert, and the introvert, we don't know anything about that. We have a little bit of mix, more extroverts than introverts. What were your scores on the E? Half and half? The introvert, extrovert? Introvert.
6-4 extrovert.
Extrovert. So, again, this is all feedback right now, trying to understand. Right now, the rewarding thing of doing this, I made this, I'm a dreamer. I dreamed this whole thing up today. I've never done this before, and I've never seen this done before. The rewarding thing, as Jen and Suzanne are getting to feedback, we're hearing the things that we're writing about these types in the way they're answering their questions, in the way they're describing their challenges, in the way they're describing their strengths. Exactly. And even how they would partner with each other, because that's one of the things we feel this tool will do is if you're a dreamer, you better have a big team. You got to. You got to find the money. You got to work it out. You got to have people around you that are going to execute things, or it just won't grow beyond you. If you're a cultivator, and we found that cultivators sometimes they don't see the vision. They get lost in all the doing and all the planning, and they don't know where they're going. You better hire or find a co-founder who's a visionary, because that's going to maximize your value. So it's what we're learning is that it's not only your type, but it's the team around you. Not only maybe a co-founder, but the people you hire. What tools should you use? If you're an architect, you need to find tools that will help you execute on some of the building things. But if you have to create them yourself, all you're going to do is design more things. You won't actually go do them. See, that's what we're learning. So it's really about your and those people around you, and the type you are relates to the thing. So, answering the question about the dreamer versus builder, there are people who are absolutely have learned how to do things as entrepreneurs, especially if you do it by yourself. But it's what's true about this is if you create from your intuition or your feelings, you're more likely to be better off in the way you create is if you hire somebody to do your building or find a partner to do your building, because that gives you more chances to be creative with that energy of the intuition that you have.
I actually have two questions, a very quick one for the panel and then one that's more fundamental about the structure of your thing.
You have to introduce yourself too.
I'm Donna Kelly. Hi. A quick one for the panel. Did any of you come up S? Oh, good for you. Okay, then my question for you. On your matrix, given the two criteria that you had, planner and
implementer.
Right. I would have put dreamer and cultivator at opposite corners, 2 yeses and 2 nos.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you arrange them the way that you did? Could you?
So the question is why in the matrix, the simple matrix that we put up, the choice of implementing and planning versus the connections that we have. The design, the way this came up is that I believe that the dreamer and architect share similar traits and behaviors. The architect and the builder and the cultivator and the cultivator and the dreamer. And when you look at the data we're getting from the Myers-Briggs assessment and from Kersey, we're finding that type of thing as well. The other simple assessment is really is not a polar opposite partnering thing. A cultivator and a dreamer would certainly be a good fit in that, because the dreamer will maybe have the vision and the cultivator can go implant it and implement it. But yet, in reality, the dreamer and the builder are the least alike, and that's why they're exact polar opposites versus being the opposite in the way they do things. Does that make sense? Okay, that's right. Well, it may not just one of these things that we still have to flesh out. That one piece was a breakdown that I got from a book called Zen Money Blues, and when his little matrix like that. It made sense to try it to see if people assess similarly based on that. I don't know, it was more of an experiment to see, and it might not be valid. So, all right, what other questions do we have? We'll take one more question and then we'll wrap up from the panel. And
this is a question for you, Brian, and that is, have you considered cultural aspects? My partner's Chinese, lives her life under the philosophy of no work, no eat. I don't think she thinks this or that. It's not an emotional thing. It's the way that they were raised. No eat, no work, no eat. So do they have to worry about how they feel? As we were going through the questions, I'm thinking, how would she see these questions? She probably would have at question 3 gotten up. I got something better to do. She wouldn't even sat through it because it just was too much fluff. So if it's really a personality thing, a core of your humanness, would that, have you considered the culture?
Yeah, so the question is, and actually I'm going to open this up to the panel, do you feel that your upbringing, do you feel that how you were raised or how you were socialized affects this typing? So, or is it just you have been this way since you were a kid? So answer that, and then I'll answer his question to wrap up.
Sort of neither, no. So I think people evolve, that we're not just one culture. I was raised total academic, all the way, and I used to be a land developer. Solid, make the money, sell the land, and I totally blew it off, became an artist. And there's a big joke in my friends in Toronto, go, oh, let's be Linda. We're going to be an artist one day. Yay. And just do it. So, no.
I think you made it when there's jokes about you. They say you haven't done anything until you make an enemy. Basically, I don't know. I was raised as an independent kid. Maybe that has something to do with why I design things or plan and things like that. So that's my best guess.
I've always been a doer and got rewarded from my family for being up front and in drama and choir and all that. So maybe.
So your reward cycle shaped who you were.
Was in my reward cycle. But I'd be fascinated to see how this affects cultures.
I think that it wasn't external rewards, but internal drive that really shaped me. My parents never had any expectation or conveyed to me any expectation of what I should or could do. Really, there was no emphasis on education, making money, happiness, get married, nothing. Nothing was ever said about anything. So I just had a blank slate and I could go do what I wanted. But I was that kid who was hiding under my sister's bed, tape recording her conversations with friends, and then writing newspaper articles about it and distributing them around the neighborhood like that. And then I became a news reporter and did that for 12 years. So it was just innate, I think. But I was wondering if, may I ask a question?
Oh yeah, sure.
Do you track personality types from serial entrepreneurs, people who've done it for a real long time, versus like somebody like me who came into the entrepreneurial spirit about 8 years ago after being a long-time employee? Do you find trends in that?
Right now we don't have enough data to know anything that would be, are there certain types that are serial entrepreneurs more a certain type than first-time entrepreneurs? Our plan is that this summer we will do some more research to find out and to interview entrepreneurs to get some of this data. And again, this is the first time, depending on how many sheets I get back, this will double or triple the amount of data I have. So that's where we're starting from. So let me talk to this point from my personal experience and then wrap up. For me, my experience is this is innate in me. I've always been the kid who was the dreamer. I always had lots of great ideas. I would do a little tinkering with planning or a little bit of doing. But in terms of my creative projects, which I'll call a business, our art is our business. Whether it doesn't mean that it has to be of art. And it's the way we create. And it's always been that way for me, and it's always been challenging. Now, however, because I'm a dreamer doesn't mean that I'm lazy or that I don't do anything. I was a world-class swimmer. I was a full scholarship All-American swimmer. And to be at that level, you have to have goals, you have to be hard, you have to drive hard. There is no pro contract at the end of that type of career. So it's not how I chose. Swimming had no bearing on me being a dreamer. And I'm actually, probably more people that saw how I accomplished in that would not see me as a dreamer. Those people that knew me then would say, well, you obviously, I used to lay down my times, lay down my splits. I used to, do extra practices, extra work, and definitely integrate that. But that was not natural for me. And that's the whole key of what we're trying to decide is this personality thing how we are naturally, independent of where culture we're from, where we're raised, how we're raised, by who we're raised, and what our choices were with life. And that's what Jungian studies, they say that's the case, regardless who you are, where you are. These are the 4 types, and then from there, there's 16. I don't know how it will flesh out in the entrepreneurial world. We're starting with this base stuff because Myers-Briggs and David Kiersey has a body of work that we can take and frame from. However, we don't know where it's going to end up. So, all right, well, I would like to thank our panel for volunteering. You guys didn't know you were going to be on stage. You got your 45 minutes of glory tonight. So I would like to wrap up. So a couple things. If you want us to have this data that you filled out tonight, fill out your name and your phone number and give it to myself, Jen, or Suzanne. We will contact you, and I'll spend an hour with you about this, because this is a part of what we call the $1 Million Hour. And the $1 Million Hour includes your assessment to help me get information, a little information about what Startup Guru does, and then a problem you have. By understanding your type and a little bit about your background, I can usually help unblock one thing, and it doesn't cost anything to do this. So if you're interested in that, give that sheet. We'll make a photocopy so you can have it back when you have your $1 Million Hour, or you can just give your card to one of us. Right. So again, tonight was a design in entrepreneurship. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Again, Startup Junkies Underground another month from now. We're working on our presenter. Again, thank you to the panel. Thank you everyone for all your great questions, and thanks for taking this survey. So thank you very much. Thank you.